Hey Rebels, my name is Matthew Barton. Welcome to the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. Last year, Rebellion launched a majestic milkshake sparkle beer that became the fastest selling beer in the history of our brewery. Thanks to support from Rebels like you, we were able to donate $10,000 to Lulu's Lodge, a housing program for homeless youth. Today, our Brewmaster Vanessa Owen is the creative force behind a new beer, and she's sitting down to talk about how this sparkle beer is going to change and help people in our community. So let's get into it. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Kind of stumbled over to that intro, but I think you're going to help me lift this thing off.
Oh, God.
We're not going to crash this Zeppelin.
No spiral crash yet, I guess.
We're not on flames.
Right.
How's your day going otherwise?
Oh, regular running around. The brewery never sleeps, and neither do most of us, so.
I think I got about a solid 6.
Right. Good. That's good.
Tell me about this new sparkle beer that's coming up.
Well, it's very similar to the one that we've released for Lulu's Lodge. You know what? Why aren't we making more sparkle beers? That's the question. That's what I want to know. Because you know what? Everyone loves them. And I love them too. Because right now, maybe we just need a little more sparkle in our lives. And it's a fun beer to make. And it's a fun beer to drink. So that's why we decided to go with that again.
When we look at the last sparkle beer, it was purple and kind of had this galaxy swirl effect. What's this new one going to look like?
Well, so one of the cool things we were trying out in the last beer was this butterfly pea flower. And that's where that kind of like violet bluey color came from. And that's also why if you added enough acidity, like with a lemon or something, you could change it to like a bright pink, which is just cool that you could just do that at home with your can of beer. So we're not putting in the butterfly pea flower. We're just using our dragon fruit again, which just has this really fuchsia cool color to it. So it'll be like a fuchsia galaxy swirl thing this time around.
What's it going to taste like?
It's going to taste, well, so it's in the tanks right now. So, I mean, what I think it'll taste like is kind of similar to our last Sparkle Motion brew. It's got lactose in it, so it's got kind of a creamy element. And it's a bigger beer. And we're going to add our dragon fruit and my new favorite hop, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to just ever say I have just one. But Calypso, we've been using that a lot lately. And I'm really digging it. It's got like a cool citrus hit that's different than Citra. I don't know. I felt like it really went well with the dragon fruit last time. So we're going to use that again to give it kind of like a little boost of a tropical citrus feel.
When people think of hops, they often think about the bitter quality of it. Yeah. But when you apply it to something like Sparkle Motion, you're not going for a bitter smash. You're doing something else, right?
No, yeah. Hops are so much more than just a bittering agent. They can add such depth to your beer. It's really important to know that you can balance them using different hops, and it's all about when you add them to your beer. So in this case, like, the hops are all added after the bittering portion during your boil. And that's why we're really focusing on a juicy tropical pop-in beer instead of like a really a deep and bitter hang on the finish hop, you know, that you might get more of that in like our IPAs and stuff, our regular IPAs, which are my favorite. So
to a novice or to somebody like me who doesn't have a full understanding of when you add hops or why and the science of it, it sounds like your team has done a lot of research going into this beer to get where you want to be.
Well, Matt, you got to drink a lot of good beer to make a lot of good beer. So, yes, we research a lot and frequently. But we do. We read a lot. We try a lot of things. And one of our favorite ways to experiment is every Thursday we release an exclusive beer, which is about 40 liters worth. And we have a test batch machine, and we can just do whatever our little brains think of. And we love it, as you probably remember. And your face full of disgust means that you do remember our most recent one, which was horseradish mustard goes. And yeah, we made it on purpose. Yeah, we liked it. And maybe you didn't, but we wanted to know. And that's not the first mustard beer I've made. So yeah, Mark's like, what if we did a horseradish mustard beer? I thought, yeah, why haven't we done that yet? So, but that's when we get to do all our fun tinkering before we take it to the big system.
I respect your team's commitment to that Thursday beer. When you told me you were doing horseradish mustard, in my brain I immediately said, I'm going to hate it because I just don't care for those flavors. But I also wanted to try it so I could see what it was you were trying to pull off. And it was basically, you delivered on the promise. It was exactly like eating a hot dog at the baseball diamond. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we try to not lie to people.
Put all that mustard on, put all that relish on, take a big bite of that hot dog. That's what that beer tasted like. And me personally, I'm like, do I really want this beer in my life? No. But do I respect that we swung and tried to just hit it over the fence? And I think you achieved that with that beer.
One of the things that I love about brewing the most is creativity that you can have. And one of the things I kind of used to do a lot of and don't do as much of lately is beer tourism. If there's a giant beer festival, I'm flying to Portland and I'm going to it and I'm staying all day and I'm trying everything, or I've been all over and I love that. And yeah, the homebrew sections, some of the ones in the States have been my favorite because yeah, they got the weirdest stuff and I'm there for that.
One thing I wanted to bug you about was when I talk to you about beer, I always try to be honest. I don't try to blow smoke up your butt. If there's something I don't like, I will try to say so and not hold back because I want you to have the most accurate information possible. People have accused me personally of, well, you only say nice things about the beer. You only tell us about the really nice beers. But I kind of personally say, I'm not going to tell you about the bad beers I've had because it's just a waste of time. There's too much good beer out there to talk about that I don't have time to just crap on the bad stuff. But I kind of wanted to reach across the aisle and say to you, from a brewer's perspective, where you might take it personally, what is your approach to positive and negative information?
I think it depends where it's coming from, maybe, especially if I know someone and, respect their opinions, I appreciate it. And also, I think there's always room to improve and grow. And if you're not doing that, then you're stale. You need to, and you can do the same recipe a million times, but then one day just say I'm going to adjust this slightly and then it's better, and if you hadn't tried, then I don't know, but I appreciate feedback, and I mean, guilty for just cloak and dagger on Untappd constantly. I'm like, what do people think? But I don't take it personally if somebody doesn't like or even hates something that we've brewed. I don't know, just grow from that.
One of the phrases I often say is, what did the brewer intend? Did they achieve what they intended? And I think if you can say, this is what the brewer intended and this is what you got, that's a better analysis than, well, I just didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I really had to like when Untappd, when more and more people started going on Untappd and rating our beer, I just had to remember that not everybody's coming from that point of view. It's just like, I hate this because it's gross. But because I'm a BJCP judge, it doesn't matter really if you think it's gross. I mean, there's like a portion where it's like overall impression when you're judging a beer. But like, for instance, I think everybody knows I hate bananas. And like the worst is if you're like, well, you're judging Hefeweizens. Oh, that's like my worst nightmare. So I have to put all my hatred of bananas aside, knowing that is supposed to be there and gets points for being in there. You know, you just have to separate your personal preference with that. But I mean, it's up to us to, as like a brewery and stuff, to be clear of what you're getting too, so that you can make your best decisions when you're ordering beer.
I love your approach there. Thank you for sharing that. You're so polite about it.
Like, life's too short to worry about if somebody thinks like what you made was gross when a lot of other people like it. But you know, things aren't always they don't always come out the way that I thought they would. And they're good, and maybe I'm like, next time I'm going to make it amazing, or at least try to. So,
well, circling back to an amazing beer, that Majestic milkshake that we did for Lulu's Lodge sold out in like 2 days. It was a monster. We couldn't keep up. And it was for Lulu's Lodge. I don't think that people specifically said, well, because this is for Lulu's Lodge, I got to buy it. I think they started off saying, oh, I got to try this. It's going to taste amazing. Then they were like, holy crap, it's amazing. And they came back and got more of it and demanded more of it. So when we look to Lulu's Lodge and the other groups we're talking about, what group is this next Sparkle beer going to support?
This next Sparkle beer is going to support the Regina Sexual Assault Center. So that's very exciting. And I've known about them for years because before I was a brewer, I worked for the Hospitals of Regina Foundation. Philanthropy has always been really huge in my life. So it's very exciting that I can do that and make beer. So it's important that we're supporting the Regina Sexual Assault Center too with this beer because there's been a big Me Too movement. There's no way anyone's missed that. And it's also been very prevalent within the brewing industry in the US and Canada. And
sexual assault has?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Or sorry, what do you mean has been prevalent? Like philanthropy or
Oh, sorry.
The Me Too thing?
All of it.
Okay.
No, sorry, I'm mixing everything up. Okay. Let me take a second to clarify where I want to start.
Sure. I mean, it's such a big, heavy topic.
I know, but that's like one of the great things about why we're supporting them. So the Regina Sexual Assault Center really got overwhelmed back in 2018, I believe. At the beginning of the Me Too movement, because a lot of individuals were having triggered traumas, and they offer counseling for that. And now there's an 8-month wait list in order to get in for your counseling. The brewing industry has had their Me Too movement is happening right now in Canada and the US. And I think that's why it's so important that this beer that we're brewing for International Women's Day and International Women's Collaborative Brew Day, the funds raised from this beer are going to support the Sexual Assault Center.
So you discovered all this through your previous work with the Hospitals Foundation?
Oh, no.
No?
I guess.
Or how did you come to know about this group?
Well, Mark and I were talking about it, and he asked me if I had ever heard of the center before, and we were talking about it because I had heard it because when I worked at Hospitals of Regina Foundation, it's one of the centers that sometimes fundraising would focus on, and funds would go towards supporting them.
Okay.
In the past.
So you kind of had it in the back of your mind on a back burner, like this was a potential opportunity to collaborate, or?
Actually, well, Mark was talking about it, so then we were talking about how well it would fit.
I mean, when you pitched it to me, or when Mark kind of, like you and Mark came to me and said, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And immediately I just said, that sounds great. But you'd already put some thought behind it, and I'm just trying to understand the origins of how we got there.
I don't know. I think one of the things that I think is really amazing about our team here at Rebellion is that we can sit down and we can just be drinking coffee or tea or something, working on different things, and we just start spitballing ideas. And at the end of it, we've just got something really awesome to run with. And it's everybody pitching in what they think, and that makes me think of this. Oh, that makes me think of that. And so it's really just a group effort of trying to find the best way to pull off what we want to do.
One of the things Mark said to me earlier was, we really need to make 2022 about helping people. Yeah. We get asked to give a lot of money to a lot of things and get behind a lot of causes. And he said, this year we're going to focus on helping people who need help. And when he told me about the sexual assault center and about helping homeless kids with Lulu's Lodge, it made sense to me. What were you thinking? What were you feeling?
About these last two causes?
Yeah.
Well, I think, there's just so many things I want to say, Matt. I don't know how to even, with Lulu's Lodge, it was so important and exciting to take that on because it was during the time, too, we were rebranding the Lady Rebels Beer Club to be more inclusive, to facilitate more individuals who've been underserved by the beer community. And and Lulu's Lodge just is such a perfect example of where the money needed to go. I don't know. I don't know. You know, when you hear something, you read something, and it's just perfect for what you're looking to do. It's a cause that needs support. And then Terry, a force to be reckoned with, really. So, who wouldn't want to make a flamingo beer? Yeah. And then with International Women's Collaborative Brew Day, we started that back in 2017. And we've always focused on supporting women in our community. So we've been supporting the YWCA with our brews over the years. And I know we're going to keep working with them in the future. But this year, due to just the movement happening in the industry, I think it was really important that the Regina Sexual Assault Center was where the funds go from this brew this year.
You mentioned beer club in there. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. I'll edit this out.
Okay.
That little aside. You mentioned beer club has undergone some changes, and I know that's a huge culture piece for getting people into the scene or learning more and feeling comfortable. And I know it's been a big piece for Rebellion. What happened and where does it go from here?
Well, so back April 2016, which feels like so long ago, but it wasn't, was when we first launched the Lady Rebels Beer Club, Chelsea and I. And it was just really to support women who, wanted to learn more about beer and get more involved with beer, that didn't really feel like they had a place to do that, a safe space. And so it was really exciting. Our first meeting, we had over 60 people attend. And I was just like, oh, wow, I guess people want this. And we went from there. And obviously we got to do a lot of great great work with brewing beer, which is exciting. But I knew that we had to change it. The name isn't very inclusive. It was meant as a way to create a safe space for women. But by doing that, it wasn't really extending the reach of the amount of people who have been underserved by the beer industry. And so that's why it was really important that we made this change to Beer Club, to really make sure everyone knows it's for everyone who feels like they didn't have a place in beer. And we're really hoping that it can be a safe place for everyone.
To be more specific, you're saying people who maybe men, maybe women, maybe don't identify as a specific gender, or maybe agender or pan or whatever, not whatever, just don't necessarily feel like lady applies to them, but they still want to be involved in some capacity.
Yes, yeah. We had in the past, we had someone bring to our attention that they didn't feel included when we would address everyone as ladies. And that I just had a moment. I was like, of course. Well, that's how I felt when I attended other beer things. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we got to make this change. I didn't know how. It took a long time because I wanted to do it right. And it took a lot of discussions. It took training to get where we are today. And unfortunately, with some COVID and stuff, I haven't been able to really I just want to do more. But it's pretty hard to plan things still at the moment. I see a really bright future for Beer Club and for everyone who has felt excluded from attending beer events. You don't have to prove yourself. I always felt as a woman I had to know 10 times more than anyone at the table to be taken seriously. Here, no. That's not the club we have.
What you said to me, correct me if I'm wrong, your lived experience was going to a beer event or a beer meeting and maybe being one or two women in the room?
Yeah.
And how did they treat you? What happened?
Well, I mean, sometimes well, sometimes invisible, or didn't believe I was there because I liked beer, but that I was there to pick up men, that kind of thing, that kind of awesome stuff.
Oh, that's lame.
That's just it's a tip of the iceberg, really. But yeah, it's I'm just there because I love it. I love beer.
I mean, maybe it's my own privilege talking, but when I went to I've been to a couple Lady Rebels Beer Club meetings, and the vibe is totally different from any other thing that I've done with beer. We've done the festivals, we've done the tastings, beer making bands, all this stuff. But when I went to the old Lady Rebels Club and got to see that energy and that vibe, it was really special. It was really cool. And it was one of the very few times in my life where I've been the only person in the room who didn't fit in with the rest of the room. And so when you say to me that was your lived experience for a very, very long time and how that informs what you're trying to do by being inclusive now, I'm like, okay, is that what you mean?
Yeah, thanks for joining me, Matt. Yeah, and I'm a straight white female, so I'm one step away from full kind of privilege here. I understand that, and I need to open up and make more space for more people.
I know when we talk about signing people up and making them feel inclusive for beer, we often say, hey, try not to gatekeep so much and shame people for maybe they posted a picture about a Bud Light and it's like, don't crap on them for being on Bud Light. Just be like, oh, if you liked Bud Light, maybe you'll like Cerveza.
Yeah.
Take a more positive approach instead of hammering on someone. You say, hey, come with me.
Yeah.
You get it. Let's lead you down a path to something even more exciting and better. Is that what you kind of want to do with the club?
I guess so, yeah. Basically, what we do is, or what we used to do, if so long, our last giant collaborative brew was 2 years ago in March. So it feels like we haven't done it for a long time. But really what we do is there's a couple of us. We have like a little team of hosts, and we will have a topic and we talk about it. I like talking a lot about the history part, which is maybe boring. Megan Trenholm spices it up with some colorful commentary and makes it fun. And then we have Andrea, who's our chef, and she just pairs everything. And what we want to do is just tell you about the beer we're tasting, talk about it, get you excited about it, and I'll talk about flavors all day if you let me, and just how pairings change your perception of beer. But we also like doing fun events like brewing a beer together, naming beer together, you name it. We did a lot of stuff. We even did a trip out to Nokomis, and it was wonderful. So I'm really hopeful that I'll be able to keep doing that, and with a bigger audience.
If people want to plug into Beer Club,
yeah,
where should they go?
Well, right now, the best way is on Facebook. We're called Beer Club. And we're probably, you might be able to find a link we could maybe do through Rebellion, have like a link somewhere.
I'll plug it into the show notes,
Yeah.
and then if somebody's looking for it, I'll have it on the social media channels when we post this episode.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I guess if you don't have Facebook, and a lot of people are kind of getting off Facebook, you can always email me.
What's next?
What's next? Well, what's next for what?
For Vanessa.
For me? I don't know. Keep living.
Keep on living. That's a good what's next.
Yeah. We're going to just keep working at brewing great beer and finding causes that really align with our values, and that's what we're going to keep doing, because that's how we can support our community best.
Well, I just want to say thank you for your time, and thank you for your leadership. I know a lot of these things that I'm most proud of for being at Rebellion directly come from your brain. I think Lulu's Lodge and YWCA were two of the best things we did last year. And Regina Sexual Assault Center, supporting this cause, it's not something that would have come to my brain immediately because I just didn't know about it. I didn't have awareness. But now that you and Mark have kind of brought it forward, I'm like, this makes me proud to be a part of this. It makes me proud to get to tell our fans.
Well, I would never take all the credit for any of that. So because everything, I think, is a huge collaboration. So it's the team that does it.
It's like a birthday cake. Take a slice.
Yeah, there you go.
Rebels, thanks for listening today. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, be sure to join us on our brand new Facebook group page, the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. I'm going to include links in the show notes so you can find more about Beer Club online. I'm also proud to let you know that we're members of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. It's a one-stop shop for tons of locally produced podcasts from across our province. You can find them at saskpodcastnetwork.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Untappd so you don't miss out on the latest in Sask craft beer news. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.